These people all shared a common trait. They believed in themselves and their ability to achieve more. They were dedicated to improving themselves by investing their time and energy into developing new skills. The following are two inspiring stories that I would like to share, from which we can draw valuable lessons. The first story is about two women who each sold a business to Berkshire Hathaway, and coincidentally, both started with just $2,500. One of these women, Rose Blumpkin, arrived in Seattle in 1917 unable to speak English. After being reunited with her husband, they moved to Omaha, where she found a sense of community among Russian Jews. Despite never having attended school and struggling to pick up the English language, she diligently saved money over 20 years, eventually amassing $2,500. With this money, she opened a furniture store, realizing her lifelong dream. The business flourished, and in 1983, she sold it to me for around $60 million. Her legacy lives on as the fourth generation of her family continues to run the business. Rose worked for me until she was 103, and her incredible work ethic and dedication serve as a lesson to all of us. Her story demonstrates the power of perseverance and the pursuit of one's dreams. Mrs. B started a furniture business with $2,500 and a strong determination to succeed, despite not being able to read or write. She focused on hard work and customer care and built a successful business with low profit margins. Another person, referred to as Jack, also built a successful business with $2,500. He dropped out of college in 1941 and served in the Navy during World War II. After the war, he became a used car salesman and later ventured into the car leasing business at the age of 35. Starting with just 7 cars, he eventually expanded into the rental car business at the age of 40, competing with major companies like Hertz and Avis. He focused on providing excellent customer service, and his company, named after the battleship he flew from in the Pacific, the USS Enterprise, grew to great success. More than Hertz, Avis, and all the other rental car companies combined. The man behind this success story was Jack Taylor, and his son, Andy Taylor, who is a good friend of mine, now runs the business. A grandchild is also involved in the business, and there will likely be a fourth generation joining in the future. Jack Taylor didn't invent artificial intelligence, nor did he do anything that any one of us couldn't have done in those businesses. However, he lived by the creed of delighting his customers, working with people, and establishing relationships with them so that they, in turn, would want to delight the customers. He couldn't take care of every rental car possibility, but he learned how to project himself and his attitude toward his fellow man and his desire to make a friend out of every customer. He managed to turn very ordinary cars into an extraordinary business from virtually nothing. This story illustrates several points. One is that you don't necessarily get it exactly right the first time. In the car leasing business, they were basically competing on the cost of money to finance cars, and it's very hard to delight a customer when you just give them the car and tell them to send you a monthly check for 5 years. At the age of 40, with all that experience behind him, he found the golden key and turned a very ordinary business into an absolutely extraordinary operation. He didn't worry about whether the Federal Reserve was going to tighten or ease, or whether the stock market was up or down yesterday. He focused on the one thing he couldn't change, which was the customer's experience. I have seen a business that got away, Enterprise, and I went down to Florida and tried to talk him into selling it to Berkshire. He was smart enough not to do it, and the value of the company has quadrupled since then. Henry Ford, as you may know, failed twice before he started the Ford Motor Company in 1903. The test isn't whether you get the greatest business idea in the world the first time out. The test is whether you keep learning as you go along, understand your strengths, and what you can do for your customers. You need the education, as I know you've received through 10,000 small businesses, and a genuine desire, day in and day out, to delight the customer. I've never seen a business that delights the customer that doesn't succeed. What you want is that customer to return the next day. They think, do I want to rent a car, or do I want to buy some furniture? What goes through their mind, you know? It's the place where they've had a great experience. I don't know what I paid for this type, actually. Probably if somebody gave it to me. But for the purposes of the speech, I will say, I have no idea. But what or the shirt I'm wearing, others. But I do know I will remember how I was treated when I bought it. I mean, you long forget about the price, but you never forget whether you had a good experience or a poor experience with the purchase experience. And you'll have a hard time finding a person who has had a wonderful experience, a delighted experience in purchasing anything that isn't going to come back. And similarly, if the memory is of rudeness, indifference, and whatever it may be, they're never going to come back. And as a small business owner, and as you grow, you have to not only be able to project that interest in people's well-being and delighting them yourself, but you have to do it through other people. And you won't be able to do it through people who themselves do not feel they're being fairly treated, that their views aren't appropriately considered. So you really do have to learn to multiply yourself through other people. And I advise the young people to come to Omaha. We have a number of classes. The key is to certainly, in terms of your personal life, the most important decision you'll make is the spouse that most of you will likely have. And it's very important to surround yourself with people who are better than you are. You are going to move in the direction of the people you associate with. So if you constantly, I've been enormously lucky in that respect. I mean, I've just had teachers and friends and a spouse that really was a better person. And I had enough sense to learn from these people that life went better if you behaved better yourself. It took a while. So, I advise you to seek out as your partner in business, your partner in life, whatever it may be, look for the people that actually are examples to you, rather than somebody that you think you need to straighten out yourself. And simple rules like that, delighting customers, working through other people, associating with people that will cause you to move in a better path than you might otherwise have, they will take you so far in life that it's hard to believe. I mean, they took Rose Blumpkin, without being able to speak a word of English, couldn't read or write, and they took her to what is now $1.5 billion business. And incidentally, there's been no money put in it since the $2,500 that's been the total capital paid into the Nebraska Furniture Mart. And I think if you looked at Enterprise, I don't know their books, the same way. I want to express my admiration for this group. When I met Dr. Mello's class 8 years ago on September 22nd, I was thrilled. I admire people who work hard at their jobs while also putting in the effort to further their skills. It's mind-blowing that 99% of you graduated. Looking at the 2,200 people here, I admire and cheer for you. The best is yet to come. Thank you.